What if the life you've been dreaming of isn't as far away as you think? Welcome to the Transforming Lives Panel podcast, where real stories meet radical change. With hosts Charmin Prince and Mitzi DeDown.
Together, they bringing you unfiltered conversations with trailblazers, experts, and everyday people who've turned their struggles into strength. No fluff, just the tools and mindset shifts you need to rewrite your story.
Whether you're stuck in your career, relationships, or personal growth, consider this your wake-up call. Press play on transformation. Come on, dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Transforming Lives Panel podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Charmin, and Mitzi is here with me. And of course, we have a guest today. But before we continue, just join me in a minute or so of grounding exercise where if you're comfortable and it's safe enough to close your eyes, you can do so. If not, just take a deep breath in through your nose and feel that breath as you take it in and just let it out through your mouth with an exhale. Now take another deep inhale and hold that breath at the top. And as you exhale, just let go of the tension, the stress, the anxiety, anything that did not serve you today. Just let it go as you inhale in and out, in and out. And as you exhale, just let go of the tension, the stress, and all that can prevent you from being present for the next 30 to 45 minutes. Just let it go. And as you take another deep breath in, just feel that breath. And as you exhale, just join us again in the room. Thank you for taking the time to be grounded with us and to be centered with us. And today we have a special guest, and I'm excited to have her on the Transforming Lives Panel podcast. And I'm just going to read a short bio for Angela Harvey, who is a transformative author and poet based in Wake Forest, North Carolina. With over 25 years of experience in social work and personal development, she empowers individuals through workshops and retreats. Her debut poetry self-help book, Poetic Alchemy, 7 Intentions for Healing, Growth, and Transformation, reflects her journey of turning heartbreak into art. As the director of Black Rainbow Love and a columnist for Swerve magazine, Angela advocates for personal growth, particularly within marginalized communities. Her work inspires readers to embrace their potential and heal through creativity and self expression. Angela, welcome to the Transforming Lives Panel podcast. Is there anything you would like to add to that bio?
No, you did a great job. I actually was looking around like, who is she talking about? Yeah. Thank you. You made me sound really good.
You are good because everything that I said is what you've done.
Yes, that's very true. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all, but yes, thank you very much.
So you're very welcome. My first question, your book, Poetic Alchemy, explore the transformation of pain into art. Can you share a specific moment from your journey that sparked this concept for you?
Mm. Well, it was absolutely during in 2019 is when the poetry kind of just flowed from me. And keep in mind, I wasn't a poet before, so it wasn't like poetry was my thing. But I do remember when putting it down, I had these 30, it was like 35 plus poems that I had. And most of it was not on paper. Most of it was on barf bags, napkins, the back of envelopes, whatever I could get my hands a hold to, because usually it was moments where I literally found myself not able to manage my emotions, getting ready to cry. And I don't mind crying in public because tears, I think, are a healthy thing. But I needed to write to be able to not just go into full panic mode. But I knew that because I didn't consider myself a poet, me putting something together was not going to be a poetry book. The other piece was that if I could be in this space and place, I knew for sure. And just like people that maybe drink or get too carried away with something that overload, they always swear that if you let me out of this, I'll never do it again. Well, I always say, God, if you get me through this, I promise I'll go deliver everybody I can with this message. I will repurpose this pain for the good of other people if you let me live through this. Sometimes it sounded the opposite. It's like, okay, if you just come get me, I'll leave the stuff here for the people, but just come and get me out of here because I didn't want to be here any longer. And that's when I knew that it would be something. I've written a few other books, but not ever published anything. And I knew that my first book would be something that would charge people to heal, grow, and transform. I didn't want to do anything that wasn't gonna get people moving. I believe that it's necessary. I believe that shared stories save souls. And I know that my story is absolutely already. It's only been out for 2 weeks. I mailed 160 copies a week ago. I've sold over 200 books in less than a month, which is unheard of for a new author. And I know already that it's transforming lives. My youngest person that ordered the book is 16. My oldest is my neighbor who's 82, and she literally takes it with her to her appointments and just is so excited, highlighting things. She can't wait to have me over so we can talk about it. I just knew that it was going to be something I was going to have to share. And I've always been transparent, not always. In these last few years, I've used transparency as a superpower. So that people can see. I can be the example, whether it's the example of what not to do or the example of what you might want to do. Either way, being able to be transparent, and transparency also sheds shame. So I knew I didn't want to take that with me. So what's in the book, the way the poems are laid out, everything is just the way it was, meaning the poems are in the exact order. And I labeled the 3 categories: hurt, healing, and transformation. Those are literally 3 chapters because that's how it went. So yeah, for the people, always about the people. And I'm always thinking like, how can I use my experience to help other people? How can I use my hurt for other people? How can I use my skills and talents for other people? And I think that because I'm blessed with skills and talents, I tell people all the time, our gifts are ours to open, but they're not ours to keep. And everybody is assigned to a group of folks. And if you're sitting on your gift, that's a group of people that are without what they need to live this life abundantly. So I don't hold on to mine. And that's what Poetic Alchemy is. It's me letting go and not holding on to that and giving it to other people.
You mentioned that there was 3 chapters. Could you say them again?
Hurt, healing, and transformation.
Right. And so how long were you writing hurt poetry versus, how long were you sort of in each phase? Because you said you published them in the way that it came and as you went through that process. Right.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Felt like I was in hurt forever, mainly because even as I exited some of it, there were still things that would happen that would, even to this day, that would just knock me off my feet. But I probably was there. Let me put it to you like this. I left the relationship in August of 2019. By December of 2019, I had lost 47 pounds, moved out of the state to a place where I knew nobody. I didn't have any family there, friend. Like literally, I was running with myself, away from myself. I've come to find out it was a long while. I would say over a year, because then the pandemic happened and I had to sit down and sit with not feeling worthy, not feeling appreciated, not feeling acknowledged, and not being able to do those things for myself. Because that's where the healing started. Like, okay, if nobody's going to be able to do this for me, I'm going to have to do these things for myself, me and God, inward and upward. And that's where it came from. Like, okay, so the transition happened probably a year later. And some of it never fully went away, but I was able to manage it in a way that wasn't debilitating. Because there's nothing worse than being the energetic, vibrant woman that I am, to find yourself being unable to do anything but cry. My friends would tell you, I'm the only person they know that could cry all day long. But I also believe that crying is healthy. So I didn't have a problem with it. Never apologize for it.
Yeah, it helps us release and get things out. And that's why it's so damaging when, especially little boys, are told, don't cry. Like, it's so important to be able to have the freedom to get those emotions out. And then transformation, the last part of it. Talk a bit about that.
Here's the great part about that. What I've come to understand and believe, wait a minute, before I go there, I didn't know why these poems were coming out of me. I didn't know why this was so instrumental to my healing. And I read a book by a friend of mine that she just published by Alexis Gums, and it was about Audre Lorde. And Audre Lorde said that the function of poetry is to excavate the politics of submerged emotions. Wow. Like, that was it. Like, okay, it was something that needed to happen inside of me that only poetry could do. And I didn't get that information until after the book was published, because if someone had asked me why, I would have like, it just doesn't happen. But now when you talk about the excavation of the politics of submerged emotions, like, what? Transformation came, and only came, when I started to accept responsibility for the places I had been in. Because initially it was everybody else. I remember begging the moving people, like, please don't take advantage of me. Please don't say you're going to do something and not do it. I mean, I'm begging people not to take advantage of me. I'm begging people to respect my wishes. I'm begging people to do all these things. And I didn't have any hand in any of that, meaning I wasn't taking care of myself, but I'm begging other people to do it. But my transformation came when I said, stop asking why somebody else is not doing something, and ask yourself why you're not taking care of yourself. So literally, I turned all those questions around. Okay, why did they treat me this way? Why did you stay while someone treated you this way? Why did you not seek something someplace else? Why did you not? And those things begin to transform how I thought, what I felt, what I could do. It made me stronger. It made me powerful. And most people don't take responsibility because they don't want the weight. But I didn't mind taking the weight. I will take the weight for me, because that's what I was getting to. I was getting to me. And that's what was so pivotal for me. Even now, I think about it, this transformation was me being self-aware, me having to take responsibility and leaving nobody else to blame. Literally, for decades, I taught other people how to treat me, and I did a horrible job. I taught them. Nobody else taught that class. I taught that class, and I gave horrible instructions. I said, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to say please. You don't have to say thank you. You don't have to be reciprocal. You don't have to love me. You don't have to call me. I taught them all of that. And then I got to a place where I needed those things to happen and was wondered why people didn't show up. So that transformation for me came, it started happening. It was an overlap. So as I begin to heal, like with any wound, you want to go get some stuff put on, and you're like, okay, at some point you have to figure out what made you fall. And I just started thinking about those things. And a lot of the questions in the book came from the questions I would ask myself. I literally started writing questions and answering those questions myself. And it was a powerful thing to have happen. Most people don't have the time that I had. I had the pandemic, literally to sit with myself. Most people didn't take advantage of that time that they had. I sat with myself and I grew and healed and pulled stuff out of the closet. Like I always tell my clients, like, go get that box that you put all your stuff in. Let's sort the stuff and wash it and dry it and fold it and put it up. I did all those things for myself, me and my therapist. I had a therapist at the time. But that transformation, when it came, left me powerful. I was 45 pounds lighter. In the midst of that, I cut all my hair off because they said your hair holds stories. Well, I needed that story to be gone. I wrote a couple of poems about in the book. I needed that story to be gone. And I didn't even know how true it was. But what I did know is that if that's what was going on in my head, I needed it to be gone. And I decided not to grow my hair back because people saw me. I saw myself and made a decision that I officially broke up with hair. So I haven't had any for now. It's been on the 7th in 2 days. It'll be 5 years since I cut my hair off. So yeah, and that was transformative. So I'm down to a size 12, which I had never been that small as an adult. I had this bald head and kind of looked decent with it. And so there was some confidence that came with that. There was some definitely some boundaries that came with that. I mean, I was more protective of myself. And so when you talk about transformation, you have to talk about the responsibility that you're willing and able to take for the places you've been and where you're trying to grow to. And I'm totally responsible for that, where before I left it up to other people. I don't do that anymore.
Wow. There is so much I want to ask you to unpack. You mentioned that you taught people how to treat you. Our listeners may be, let's say a listener is asking, how do you do that? How do you teach people to treat you?
Let me give you a great example of something that we do all the time. Someone does something to us and they come back. If you're blessed enough to have somebody apologize and they say, I'm sorry. And the first thing we say is, oh, that's okay. We dismiss it. Literally, I spent a lifetime going, oh, that's okay. So much so that people stop apologizing. I was a genie in the bottle. And people didn't have to ask for anything. I would just show up and do it, but then they wouldn't say thank you. And then they would say things like, I didn't ask you to do that, which they would be right. They didn't ask me to do that. And me doing things in spite of people. Literally, I put it this way. I stayed in the ring, even though people were knocking me out. I mean, I would get up and like get myself together, get my bearings together, and then go back in. But I never had my dukes up because I didn't know how. And my sister passed away in 2021, and she used to always say, Angie, F them. And I was like, I don't have a F you. Like I literally would go in, not hitting. I would just go in, just kind of blocking, like, hey, it's me. I love you. Don't hurt me this way. But I would always go back in. People were used to that, so much so that when I began to recover from my codependency and set boundaries and transform and make a commitment to myself that I will never, ever again in this lifetime ever let me down. I will not ever let me down. You can let me down if you want to. I won't ever do it. And those things then leave people not knowing what to think and feel. So a lot of people have gone away. A lot of my family members have gone away. They think I'm angry. When I'm not angry, I'm saying no. And I'm not saying no to you. I'm saying yes to me. And anybody that has a problem with you putting you first is a part of your problem. That left a lot of people. And I taught them how to do that. That's why there was grace. I'm still not angry with anybody because I accepted the little that they gave. And I gave all of me knowing that I was going to be left with nothing. And then you keep your fingers crossed that somebody's going to show up for you. Well, we all know how that works. It doesn't. So yeah, that's what that was for me knowing that I had given people permission without giving people permission that they could treat me a certain way, and my feelings and my love for them would never change. So if you come in my store all the time, you never have to pay for anything. At some point, I can't get upset with you because I can't call it stealing because because you've allowed them to do this for decades.
I think you brought up such a great point there when you said they would, early on say they were sorry something, you'd say, oh, that's okay. And just that little thing, trains them, as you said, to then the next time they don't even bother to apologize. And then it sort of de-evolves to the point where, like you said, you've just got nothing left to give. You're so drained emotionally, physically, mentally,
Yes.
Because you've been giving, and nothing's been feeding your own soul and energy.
Right.
And you mentioned, picking up and moving to a new location. And, I had some family issues and things go on a few years ago. And, one of the things my husband and I did too was we moved very specifically to a new location because I felt that we needed that distance so that we would have the time, the emotional space, the physical space, everything to be able to process, and that you needed that distance in some way. I have a question too about shaving your head and cutting your hair off, because it's a very big transformation, and it's one that probably a lot of people can't imagine doing because it is so big, and because for women hair is part of sort of who we are, like our breasts in some ways.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what sort of brought you to that point, and also as you were going through it and actually like taking your hair off, and once you had kind of just sort of share with our listeners kind of what was going on with you transformationally, and how that all occurred.
Okay. Well, I used to have locks, sister locks originally, and then they had to be transformed into locks because they began to fall out. And the partner that I was with didn't want me to cut my hair, because at some point I wanted this short little Wanda Sykes type of afro. I did envision that already. I did envision going gray and having a look like I was looking forward to that. And they didn't want me to cut it. So when I made a decision to cut it, my first thought was, I can't believe I held on to something that I had planned to get rid of because of somebody else. Like somebody else could tell me, somebody that wasn't treating me well could tell me, hold on to something that I no longer wanted, and I did. So initially it was an act of defiance. But then they say that your hair holds stories. And I knew that I needed that story, that those last 5 years, I needed that to be gone. And literally it was me thinking childlike, because I'm depressed and insane in some places. Like, hey, if I get rid of my hair, some of this will go away. I won't look at it and think I only have this because of that. I only have this. And literally it would have been a reminder of sorts. And November 7th, I was in Dallas, Texas for a friend's wedding. And I had a friend come over. I remember going to Walmart to get scissors. Knew that there was a barber there, that when I cut it all off, the next day I was already scheduled to go in to clean it up or whatever it was going to be. And I knew it was going to be emotional. I had no idea what I would look like. I had no idea I was going to not have hair going forward. All I knew is that what was supposed to happen that night, I was supposed to cut it. The next day I had an appointment to get it shaved. And then that afternoon I was supposed to go to my friend's wedding. And keep in mind, these people haven't seen me probably for a year or so. And again, I lost 45 pounds. I went from a size 20 to a size 14, literally in 4 months. And I cut my hair as 176 locks. I still have them. I cut them one by one. And I mean, literally was gut wrenching. I cried and cried and cried and cut, which is the reason I had my friend there for standby assist. And I cut them until they were all gone. I literally cried myself to sleep. I don't even know that I saw my head that night. I woke up the next day. I don't even know that I looked at it at all until I sat in the barber chair. My friend, the barber, actually cleared the barber shop and allowed me just to sit, because all while she was cutting it, I just cried and cried and cried. And before my appointment, I walked the parking lot and just walked excessively and stayed at a church at the corner. I stopped and prayed and prayed and walked and walked and walked. And all I just kept thinking was, just let this pain stop. And I got my hair cut, finally saw it and thought, wow, that's about, I didn't think, wow, you're beautiful, wow, you're gorgeous, wow, this looks amazing. I thought, whoa, girl, you don't have any hair. And went to this wedding. And when I tell you that people saw me and was extremely complimentary, So much so that I thought somebody maybe had called and paid them or told them like, hey, when you see her, say she's beautiful, say she looks nice, acknowledge her. But it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. I was at somebody else's wedding, probably doing more crying than the bride. It was overwhelming because I thought to myself, not only was my hair there and there for somebody else, but it was covering me and covering me not from keeping something from me, but keeping me from something. And that was all I needed. That was all I needed. That was all I needed. And it's it's it was so pleasantly overwhelming that I had all these scarves and hats because I was going to just kind of use the scarves and hats until my hair grew back, and it felt so good that I decided not to grow my hair back. And I still look at myself and go, I cannot believe you don't have any hair. My granddaughter, who's now 8, when she first saw it, she's like, Gigi, like all girls have hair. Like she just didn't understand why I didn't have any hair. And fast forward 5 years, I just left Las Vegas to see her, and she says, Gigi, you look at any other woman that you're around, and you're going to see people with hair. Like she just doesn't get it. And I can't wait till she's old enough to understand, or old enough to understand my reasoning, but bigger than that, that she got to keep pieces of her Gigi because I don't have hair. She got to keep her Gigi, period, because I don't have hair. And one day she will be happy that I don't have any hair on my head. Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful. So many truths and nuggets you have shared there. I understand the whole emotional journey that is attached to here because I ball my head often. Um, and so I understand that and the courage that it takes to do that and then to embrace it for 5 years. So I commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Initially, I wouldn't even say that it was courage. It was pain. Like I said, I almost thought childlike. Like if I cut my hair, some of this pain will go away. And it did, but it didn't. It wasn't necessarily attached to just my hair. It was so many other things. But yeah, thank you. Now I would say it took some courage. I don't know that I was happy-go-lucky. I would go, hey, let me cut my hair, But all things happen for a reason, and I believe that for sure. But thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. How can we use creativity as a tool for emotional healing?
Mm, mm. Great question. Some of the things that I speak about in the book, I give questions and prompts for people to do certain things. And as a therapist, I know that most people are guided to places by questions and prompts. People will say, oh, I'm not creative. And initially, people think poetry has to rhyme, or poetry is just a story. And 9 times out of 10, it's a story of what you're feeling or something that you felt or something that you want to feel, just like a song. But creativity isn't just that. It's not limited to just writing. Creativity is when people scribble on a piece of paper to indicate that they're maybe bored or maybe they're this. Creativity can be so many different things, and people don't coin it as creative. All of those little things that we do, from I got a little squishy ball. And sometimes you kind of take the little squishy ball and you do this. Every little thing can be creative. It's a relief. Somebody said, I want to say that something that serves you. You said in the prayer, releasing something that doesn't serve you. Creativity, in any way that you express it, is about you being able to release something that doesn't serve you. You think about every song, every poem, every art, every book, every word, every something that somebody did. It was something to either serve you or not serve you, because nobody tells a horror story quite like me. Sometimes I scare myself so bad I'm under my own bed. And so I had to learn how to stop telling those stories. In order for me to do that, I had to write a different narrative. And again, almost all of it is without our permission. Without our permission. Most artists and creative people will tell you, I just picked up a brush. I've never written a book. I have an award-winning documentary. I had never, ever gone to film school. It's been in 31 film festivals and won 11 awards. I had never held a camera, never directed. I didn't even know what a director was. I had to look that up after I did. I'm like, oh, we got to put credits on here. I was like, oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. I did the movie poster. I wrote the theme song myself. It's the thing that oozes out of us that gives us hope and dispenses hurt and gives us confidence and dispenses crazy. And we all do it, and we do it in different ways. So when people say I'm not creative, there's none of us are not creative either. The way we tap on a desk, clicking a pen. People don't consider those things creative. Why? But it's doing something for you, And those are things I learned. I've always been a creative person. I don't know that I ever realized the release that it has and the ability that it has to be able to heal and transform you in different ways, to be able to help you get rid of something or to help you keep something. And those things are very powerful. And everybody doesn't need to go out and try to be creative. You really just have to be authentic. And authenticity to me is acting like a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old does what they want, they say what they want, they get the ebb and flow how they want. And I tell people, if you're not, you can't be keeping it real if you're not acting like a 2-year-old. Because 2-year-olds don't hold their truth. And they don't let you get by with, I'll tell you later. No. 2-year-old want to know right now, what's going on? What is this? And so I tell my granddaughter when she says, well, Gigi, why are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to teach grown folks how to act like a 2-year-old. Because that's some of what I do in trying to keep people authentic.
And, as you were talking, just before you mentioned about sort of the child aspect, I was thinking back to that very thing, is that, for children, when they're traumatized, and when they're experiencing good things, it's about, they're drawing pictures, they're singing, they're playing, they're letting themselves feel and express and have the emotion. And somehow as we go through our life, that gets pushed down in us. And what we have to do is find a way to let that back out so that we can, like you say, process those emotions and go through and do that. And art, poetry, drawing, painting, yoga, whatever it is, it's a way to just let feelings be out and give yourself space and time. Hopefully we won't all go through another pandemic to give everybody lots of time to do it, but there are ways you can do it without a pandemic.
Right. Absolutely. And I thank you very much for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. And I don't think we did it consciously. I think it was done to us. Our parents first suppressed who we were because they didn't want us to embarrass them. They wanted order. They wanted things, people took it personally if they cooked broccoli and you didn't eat broccoli. So then you had to learn to eat broccoli just because your mother cooked it. All types of things where you literally taking and ripping our authenticity and our individuality away from us. And so, yes, trying to get people back to that place is very difficult because they think it's childlike and don't see the benefit of it. But most people that are sitting in places and spaces where they're unable to transform are sitting in places where they're not doing anything, and not just physically not doing anything, but emotionally not doing anything. Mental movement has to happen. That's the tool. This is the tool right here. This mind that we have here. And most people don't use it in any capacity, let alone something creative. because it's shut down. And I'm giving people know that I know that things shut down for a good reason, but also there's not anything on my body that can shut down that I can't restart. And we have to know that.
Wow. Wow. Go ahead, Mitzi.
I was just going to say, you mentioned that you don't let yourself shut down, that you have the ability to restart yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what that process is like for you? Because I think that might help a lot of our listeners.
Absolutely. If I was to approach anybody and said, hey, let me take your authenticity, let me take your passion, let me take your purpose, let me take your rent, let me take your mortgage, let me have your, people would fight me. But they don't do that when it's them that is robbing that of themselves. And so literally what I say to myself is, Angie, if somebody called me, if one of you all called me and I just met you and said, I need some eggs, I would get right up out of my bed and go get the eggs. But I would sit and go, oh, I'm hungry. Man, I really wish I had some, and I won't move for me. What I made a decision to do is what I do for somebody else, I will absolutely do for me times 2. I got first and everybody else got next. And I realized the benefit of me being well every day, me being well, me being having joy, defining joy and what joy looks like for me, defining peace. I have a peace now that even poverty can't take from me. And now I understand when you see people happy-go-lucky, you're like, wait a minute, didn't they just lose something? Yeah, but they kept something. Those are things that nobody can take from me. But you have to almost know what it is that you're going for so that process could happen. The commitment that I made to myself, if I didn't know what joy was and didn't define it for myself, I wouldn't know how to get back to it. There would be no reason for me to get back to it. There's some people that don't know peace and joy and tranquility. They don't know what transformation. I tell people, you have to get here to prove me wrong. You have to get inside to go, oh, that doesn't work. Well, you have to get over here to say that it doesn't work. You can't say that from over there. And so again, I attempt to be the example that, and not that everybody got to be high strung like me, because I'm kind of like this all the time. But absolutely, once, like with first class, once you sit in first class, you never want to sit and coach again. Like you mad when you got to go to coach. Like you walk past those little curves, you're like, man, I can't wait to. Well, listen, we can all, we can all be in first class with ourselves, for ourselves, by ourselves. But you have to want to get there. You have to define what that looks like for you. And then you have to make a commitment to yourself that you're not ever going to sit any other place for first class. But you have to do it because nobody's coming to save us. Well, there's one person coming to save us, but when he comes, all of it's going to be gone. I want to get to heaven before I get to heaven. So peace. I want to feel peace before I lose all the pieces. I want to. Somebody said it this way. I want a masterpiece, and in order for me to have a masterpiece, I have to master peace. And I've done that. I've done that. I can manage my emotions where I don't have to be worried about being on the edge and falling, because I spent years suicidal and went from being suicidal to just wanting God to come get me. Okay, I won't take my own life, but can you come get me? And God was really clear. I still have work for you to do. So I need you not to just be, I need you to be well.
Wow. Whew. I need a moment there, Angela. Whoa, you're deep. So let's stay in that same vein. And can you elaborate on the 7 intentional or the 7 intentions for healing that you discussed in your book?
I know through my own growth work and through the work I do with other people that there's some things that people that you can just see that people are challenged with. One of those are emotional identification. People say, how are you? I'm fine, I'm okay, and I'm good. Those are not emotions. So you can't identify, you can't manage what you can't identify. And if you can't identify them, then I don't truly know how you are. The second is self-awareness. if you're not able to be self-aware, you're not able to be self-correcting, but you also can't be self-soothing. You can't administer self-love in the way that you need to because you're not self-aware. Starting conversations. Some of the questions some of the questions, the conversations that we need to have are what people consider hard conversations. And if you can't start a conversation, have a hard conversation, you can't dispense your truth. That means you're holding on to something. That means you get heavier. All those things. That's another one. Defining moments. All of us have had spent time in the valley, and I believe that most of our lessons are in the valley, and those lessons are actually needed for the mountaintop. But we go to the valley and we just want to get out. Like, hey, which way is the door out of here? Where you have to get down there, you have to get your lesson before you want to. Like, I go wee to the valley because I know I'm going to get something to grow somewhere. But you have to know that. Application of knowledge. I think one of the top 10 sins should be dispensing information and not teaching people application. So people read self-help books, they listen to podcasts, they do all those things, and you go, oh my goodness, that podcast was amazing. Okay, but how are you going to apply the paint? How are you going to apply the knowledge that you just learned to change the color of your world? Because if you don't apply the paint, the color of your world never changes. And then there's word exploration. I want people to start thinking about and defining the words that they use. I realized at 58, and I was 54 then, I had never defined love for myself. Love was always what I could do for you. Love was not ever what you could do for me. My definition of love always concerned somebody else, and it wasn't me. So I want people to use their words and be able to define their words. Define when you say, you care about somebody, or what growth looks like. And then the last is creative expression. And however you want to express yourself, know then that self-expression is therapy in some ways, where you're able to do something, whether it's scribbling, playing on the guitar. And in my head, these 7 intentions, I'm creating an assessment tool as we speak. I'm hopeful people are gonna to talk about their intention status the way they do about your love language. So then I could know how well you do in this emotional identification, how well you do with this self-awareness, how well you do with the starting conversations. Because I'm here to tell you, as a person that's been dating, people are not able to start conversations. They're not able to hold conversations unless they're talking about themselves and it's something they want to talk about. But as you just said, I'm deep. So I'm going to ask you, what was the highlight of your day? And for some people, that's a deep question. I'm just trying to get to know you better. Literally, people not knowing how to have these conversations. And it looked different when we were in our 30s, because in our 30s, we didn't know a whole lot. Well, now in my 50s, I'm not getting ready to connect with somebody who's still kicking it by the kiddie pool. I live in the ocean, and I'm unapologetic about how deep I am. I don't mind going to the kiddie pool to visit, but that's not where I'm going to live. So yeah, those are the 7 intentions, and those are the things that I cover in the book. And it's 7 intentions that have 2 questions or prompts behind every poem. So there's 14 per poem, and there's 37 poems. Literally, you could get through that. Anyone that gets through that book, I guarantee you growth. I should have probably put that in the book. There's guaranteed growth if you actually work those intentions. You absolutely will know how to identify your emotions. I keep emotional wheels. I'm showing everybody, audience, I'm showing the emotional wheel. I keep variations of the emotional wheel everywhere I go, because most adults will say, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay. And I tell people, okay is the new depressed. So you got to come with something better than that. Or what can I do to upgrade you? So those intentions, I'm hopeful, will take people places and get people to realize that we can do this. So much of what that's keeping us in bondage. So much of
I love when you said that, you can visit the kiddie pool. You live a deep life and you're in the ocean.
Right.
And, I think that with social media and so much stuff, like everybody has such short attention spans. No one gives themselves the space or the time to go deep. And so it's like a skill that's gotten lost. As you say, playing is fabulous, but you also have to take time to process and think and go deep and give yourself space to let your emotions and your feelings and your expressions out.
Right.
And I think that was just such a great analogy that you gave. I don't know if you happen to have your book beside you, but maybe if you could share one of your poems, give our audience a little taste of your brilliance.
I absolutely could share my poem. One of the things I was going to say is that I use the word deep because other people use the word deep, but actually it's just where we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
I mean, just like they called honesty. No, it's just honesty, but we've gotten so fragile that I can't even be honest with you. You've gotten so shallow that I can't even be deep. I can't ask you how. I'm not even asking you about to come up with something. I'm asking you what was the highlight of your day. And if you thinking about your day is too deep, it should be problematic. There should be nothing I ask you about you that you can't answer. That's when you know you transform. When someone says, I got a question, and guess what I always say? If it's about me, I got to answer. That's just it. That's just all. How open are you all to about what? You know what? Is it anything I talked about that you felt like you would want to know more about? Because I got
you choose.
Me choose. Okay. I'm going to pick one that's just really short and sweet because it absolutely brought home for me what my first introduction to something. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is crazy. I don't want anything to do with this. It actually is the introduction to loneliness. I had never in my life, I ever felt like had ever been lonely. But man, oh man, that introduction, I hated that introduction. Like, yeah, you could have kept this. It's called the introduction. Until now, I only heard about you from others. I had no desire to meet you. You didn't seem like my type. Then one day, without warning, when I was at my lowest, you extended your hand and I gave you mine. Hello, my name is Loneliness. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. And when I tell you to take out, I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, like I don't want to be introduced to you. I don't want to know you. I don't want you to stay here. You can't live here. I don't want you to be here. And I've had to battle with that since I wrote that poem. Because if I had a friend in this world, I wasn't lonely. But I believe what I have here is a little thing that I keep next to me. I'm showing them something. And it says, Angela, you have not been overlooked, abandoned, left behind, forgotten, or rejected. You have been set apart, hidden, preserved, prepared, positioned, and protected. I was not ever lonely. I was not ever lonely. But I was alone. And I didn't know the difference between the two for a very long time.
That's really powerful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Angela, you will have to be back.
Anytime. Anytime. And you all ask questions I've never been asked these questions before. So like that was, yeah, and see what I mean by there's not a question about me that I shouldn't be able to answer to come up with. The hardest question was how close was my book? That was it. You know. So yeah, anytime. It was definitely my pleasure. And I love helping grown folks grow up. And if I can use my story for somebody else to heal and grow and transform, I'm all about it. And I'm here for it. That's my assignment.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for embracing your assignment. Thank you for walking in your purpose.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you
they
so much for sharing.
They can get the book on Amazon.
Okay.
Over on my website, Angie Harvey Speaks. I'm still even doing autographs. So if they order it through me, I can autograph it for them. And I tell people all the time, I would love to be supported, but I'm not necessarily looking for the support. I'm looking for a save. I don't want you just to buy the book to give me $20. I want you to buy the book to grow from the book. That's what I want to have happen.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And if our listeners visit your website and you have a workshop that is coming up, would they be able to see that?
Absolutely. And I have many things coming up. There's going to be a book club that I'm going to actually facilitate from Poetic Alchemy. There's going to be a what I call vision displays, because I don't think a vision board should go on a piece of cardboard. So we put vision boards on hats. We put them on wall hangings, because if the vision is not displayed, you don't see it. If you don't talk about the vision doesn't matter.
If today's episode sparked something in you, don't let it end here. Change starts with action. Hit subscribe and join our community of life chasers.
We want to hear from you. While we don't have social media, you can connect with us through our personal YouTube channels.
Share your biggest takeaway and let us know how you're transforming your life. Remember, your next level life begins the moment you decide to claim it. Until next time, keep transforming.